Hello, this is Jason Malinak, and I want to walk you through some of these oily reports and more or less just kind of say how you might want to interpret some of the graphs or how you might want to use some of the reports in your Young Living business. This data is fake data, but it's similar to what you could expect from a platinum rank. But the reports, these concepts that I'm going to go over will apply for every single rank. It's just that's what this data is. But I'm just going to walk through what you could look, how you can use the reports, and how you might interpret what the reports are showing you into actionable items for ways for you to improve your team's health and also just improve your business results. So I'll start with the team-related reports, and then at the very end, I'll move to the hustle report. But to start off with this, you can see everybody on your team, and it's a good thing is to look and to see how many of my team members are really spending a lot, meaning they have a larger box size, compared to what percentage of my team's OGV is coming from smaller purchases. So obviously, you focus on those that have a large PV, and you know that those individuals are adding a greater percentage to your overall team's OGV. Both members are important, but it's just understanding the makeup of your team and how many, you could say these 15 people make up, let's say, about 10% of your team's OGV, whereas you could say that same amount of people over here takes 40 individual people's purchases to make up 10% of your team. So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing I like looking at is starting and just trying to look at ranks. And you say, I only want to look at my executives and what's going on. And you can more or less ignore this right side when you're looking at ranks, because it will not, the flow from level to level does not show. But what you can see is when I'm looking at my executives, now I get an idea of who my big executive spenders are compared to my smaller executive spenders. Or you could look at them from OGV level and see, you can get a comparison of how much OGV each one of these members at each rank are generating. The other thing that I like to look at is just seeing how many members you've got there, but then what percentage of your of that OGV or PV that they've got is coming from AutoShip or ER. So out of executives, about 6,000 divided by 9,000, about 66% of executives what they're spending is on AutoShip. You can go in here and go rank by rank and just make some comparisons. So here, distributor, now we can see 70 divided by 124. So a smaller percentage is coming from AutoShip from the distributors. And then you can scroll through here and quickly see information on those individuals. Another thing that you could do, just a little technique here, is whenever you are looking at this node graph and you do see member ID, you could also sort by member ID here. Say you saw someone that you wanted to know, you could sort by their member ID and then be able to see which individual that is. Another good technique to use on this visualizer report is to start by selecting yourself and then your first level individuals. And you can start seeing, okay, here's my level 1. Let's zoom out here. And when I'm looking at levels, I do want to look at this report on the right as well for the visualization of the team. But you can see, okay, here are my level 1s. Here's the ones that are spending a lot more. Here are the ones that are spending more. All of them have pretty much everything on ER. Now, let's add a level. So I like doing this one at a time. And you can see, okay, I've got pretty equally distributed level 1. So my level 1s all have reached out to about the same amount of new team members adding on there. You don't have, sometimes you might see a whole lot of dots around one individual and then just a few dots on the other. But you can see this is evenly distributed. Add the next level. And then here you can start seeing, okay, we've got, once you get to the next level, this person over here definitely doesn't have as big a circle, or maybe they just started up more recently compared to these other individuals. And you can drill down on who that is, and you can start seeing what those relationships, those networks that your team has created, and who are how they do in the number of connections that they specifically make. So it's not always just getting looking at how many members are on their leg, but it's more looking at how well are they connected with individuals. So that's a few things that you can do to look at your team visualizer report and really just understand your team and understand where your team is and overall metrics of how your team is performing. On the team health slicer report, I typically like looking at how far out the team grows by number of members, by PV, or by ERPV, and to look where there might be weakness starting coming in. So here you can see the bars are growing out, and they grow out to level 7, and then they get to 8. So starting at level 7, the growth, there are a whole lot of people there, but those people didn't necessarily keep on growing their team. So wherever there's a decrease in size. But you can see when it comes to PV, it topped out at level 6. So where, level 7, they definitely seem to be, when I'm looking at this graph, the level 7 individuals have, there have been more of them added, and they're not buying as much. And it also correlates to what's happening in ER. So automatically level 7 is kind of highlighting itself to me that the strength of the team is likely weakening at that level. Whose responsibility is that? Well, a lot of that responsibility lies on the level 6 leaders that you might be able to strengthen them and strengthening their downline. So you can see that. Looking at the ranks, it's an easy way to see, okay, where are all my team members? And you can see even how many of them don't have any rank at all, and then how many have a distributor. And just seeing this right here, this is one thing that I like looking at as well when I'm looking over here, that you can look at what your totals are for number of members, how many members have PV, and your total OGV. And when you're looking at that only at the distributor level, you can see how important your distributors are overall. You can see 1,026 members with PV. A lot of your team's PV in this case is coming from members with distributors, and keeping those distributors happy and enjoying their oils is important. So looking over here, you can start seeing if, how much each rank is bringing in PV and ERPV. And then these 5 indicators are, I would say, really important for you to be tracking just month by month, looking at the trend, if things are going up or if they're going down or if they're flat. And really keeping an eye on these through time and seeing how stable or how widely these fluctuate. And growing teams are going to have, probably some higher swings. Momentum is an important thing in your business, and momentum cannot always go up. There are times in the early stages where, yes, that's true, but as your team does grow, you will have cycles up and down months. And keeping an eye on these helps you see where is momentum being lost or where is it being gained. This first block is showing you the percentage of your team that has PV. So out of your total number of members, so we can look over here, remove the distributor so all of them are selected. But 3,650 members for Oily Sally here. 39% of those members have PV. So if you constantly see this number decreasing from a couple of months, you're going to know that maybe older members have stopped ordering, or you're going to know that you're adding new members but they're not ordering anything, but it's going in the wrong direction, down. You want to try to keep that number stable to growing. The next little box over here, 72% in this case, is the percentage of your team that has ER, where their PV is greater than 0. So if they have ER, they're generally going to have PV greater than 0. But you'll be able to see out of the people that are ordering any oils or any products in a month, what percentage of those orders are coming from ER. You want to be able, when you're tracking this through time, if it's flat, you definitely want to keep it flat, but you don't want to see it decreasing. If you're seeing it decreasing, you're going to know people are getting off of ER, or you're adding a whole lot of members that are buying things, coming up as PV, but they're not putting those items or finding items that they constantly want to restock or get new products in. And that, when you see it going down, that's a problem. You want to be aiming for that percentage to be going up. Another thing that just popped in my head too is that as you know what these kind of numbers are for your team, if you're talking with your leaders, your level ones, and you know 72% of your team is on ER that has any PV, and you've got one leader that their number is 60%. Well, and another one that's 80. So you start comparing and you say, okay, well, this one leader that's got it at 80% is definitely doing something better than 60, because team members are team members, and the average across all of those members should be pretty close to what's happening. So you've got one that's overperforming in this area and one that's underperforming in this area. So that's one benefit of encouraging all of your team to be able to be using Oily Reports, is that you can start comparing notes amongst each other of what is standard and where, who's doing really well and why are they doing well, and sharing and using this almost as a way to start conversations to improve your overall team's health. The next two I'll talk kind of about at the same time, but this tells you what your average PV is per team member that has PV, and your average ER PV of a team member that has ER. So 145 and 126. So you can start to see what is the difference between these. So you can see 145 minus 126, and you calculate what that is, and you say, okay, that's how much more they're spending over in a month. So $19 more in a month on the average PV that's not on ER. So that's related to what percentage of your OGV is coming from ER. And then the last one is your opportunity ratio, which is a ratio is nothing more than just a story about two numbers. And in the health of your Young Living business, ER and PV are two important things to be tracking. And when you take your PV number and divide it by your ER PV number for your total team, you get what I call the opportunity ratio. And this is generally, the higher that ratio is, the greater opportunity that you're going to have to help more members increase their ER orders. So when you have 161, you can set a goal to say, hey, I want to get this to 150. And the way you increase this is by getting those, or decrease it is to get those members on switching what is not on ER onto ER, and that will push this ratio down. And then once you do that, it's down, and it will naturally probably grow up again, and you'll constantly be going through this cycle of up and down, up and down. So just by itself, a big number or a low number, neither of them are better or worse than each other. It's just when it's high, you have more opportunity. Now, what you can do is you can start clicking through here. Let's look at the level 2. So 161 average opportunity ratio for the entire team. Level 2 is 155. And you can start just picking out one little variable that you're looking at. Click on level 3, 167. So there's more opportunity on level 3s than level 2. Let's see what level 4 is doing here. Level 4, 158. Let's look at that more troubled level 7. What's going on there? So they've even got the highest, 169. And then you can see a lot of these individuals, when we looked at the total for our team, you can see 135 and 112. That's way lower than what it was for the entire team, 145 and 126. So you can see that level, starting in level 7, there are some, there's some team members that probably need some additional attention. But you can look at all of these individually by clicking on all of the levels or the ranks, or an easy way to see all of these health indicators by level and by rank at the same time is to look at the next 2 team reports. And this is all about outliers. You want to see where the average is and what's different. So this first one shows you the percentage of your team ERPV that has that's on. Okay, so the percentage of your team that has ER that has any PV. So you can see you've got quite a few ranks that are at 100%, but here you've got 98 percentile at senior star and 98% at star. What this tells me is there is, it looks like one person that's a senior star or star that is not using ER for their orders. And you can look at who that individual is and then follow up with them, get them on ER. And then really this distributor number, since there's so many individuals in this case for Oily Sally here, or Sally Oily is technically her name. But, looking at, what that number is for your distributors in a month and saying, okay, 66% are on ER. Let's set a team goal to get that to 70%. So, I really like using the Slicer report for setting goals, and even for, looking at your entire team and saying, okay, 72% on average are on ER. And then when you see that distributors are 66, you can say we want to bring the distributors up to the team average of 72% as a team goal. And if you do that, then this is going to go up. Next month when you're checking this is going to be 74%. And then maybe you can focus on another goal while you're cycling in those things. But being very specific and setting goals with Oily reports, I think, is very beneficial, because it leaves no wiggle room. That if you say we're really going to focus on level 7's ERPV increase, everyone knows what that goal is, and your level 1s know that it's their level 6's, your level 2s know that it's their level 5's, and everyone kind of gets a target on who's the focus this month in a certain thing. And long-term team health comes from a whole healthy team. So when one part of your team is not as healthy as it should be, it's just going to hurt your entire team's organizational health. Percentage of your team with PV, all of these at 100%, but one thing to see on this next graph, this is not an indicator. These 5 are a health indicator. This 6th graph right here is just as a point of reference that you can see how much ER and how much PV is coming in by rank. Just that if you see something that you're targeting, you can actually see how much volume is related to that. Because if we say we're going to aim for distributors to be near 72% that are on ER, well, we know that it's the difference between this pink line and the blue line. So the 124,000 minus the 70,000. These purchases right here, the difference, are what we're going to have to focus on to getting over. And then what you could actually do is you could take 124,000 minus 70,000 and then multiply it to actually come up with a dollar amount and say, oh, we just need to convert $6,000 of PV into ER PV. And you can come up with a really specific dollar amount, and everyone's got a target that they can really focus upon. Looking at the indicator of average ERPV per member that has ER, you can start seeing, hey, 212 looks to be about kind of you've got silvers and executives at 212, but senior stars at 177. Maybe there's some senior stars that they've got some wiggle room to increase their ERPV. Yep, I want to continue. So, you're looking for outliers or that are really bigger or really lower. You can see what your average, keep an eye on your average ERPV for your distributor. So through time, there might be certain ranks that you've got kind of on your hit list that you're looking to improve, and that you're individually tracking some of these indicators to see if they're going up or down. Or my distributor is healthier than they were last month, or are they less healthy? Are they buying less? And then finally, average PV as well. You can see, silver, the stars had more PV than the silvers. And you can say, okay, well, what am I going to target from this? Or what is an outlier? What looks like a possible goal that I could set? Or something that's healthy or not as healthy as it should be. PV over ERPV, the opportunity ratio, you can see if someone just were to say, where's the best opportunity to increase my ERPV? Without a doubt, I would say it's the senior stars. And the reason it's the senior star is because it's got the highest opportunity ratio. They bought the most products in this month compared to ER, and it wasn't on ER. So the higher this ratio is, the more likely you're going to find places to increase your ER. Next would be the executive rank, followed by the stars, then silver, then platinum, and then distributor last. But focusing on some of these indicators to help you increase your ER. I won't go through everything on this report since it's very similar to the last one. But just looking at this, this report, how it's different is it's by level. And remember, we were talking about looking at maybe team something not being off in level 7, and you can actually see that right here, because here's the average ER per member that has ER, and you can see chugging along through level 3, 4, 5, 6. It's all kind of averaging around this 136, 137 range. And then automatically starting at level 7, 8, 9, and then 10 really goes down. But you can see it drops off. There's a staircase right here. And that staircase means that those individuals are not as engaged with their products. They're not as committed in ER with that. So something happened at level 6 with Sally Oily here that she needs to focus on. Likely give a little more, say something's happening at level 6 to level 7, that the amount of customer care or education or training or encouragement with those team members is not as high as it is up higher. And then looking at this, the average PV, do we see something similar? Yeah, we see, the average PV is dropping down there. And then here's the other thing that's an outlier, like the 37 percentile of the opportunity ratio is higher there for level 7 or level 8. So there's a likelihood that you might want to target individuals in level 8 or level 5 to increase their ER orders. So then looking at the leg summary report, one thing is you can look at which individuals are bringing in the most OGV. So Darby and Luis and then Roxanne. And then you can start comparing. One thing is, see their rank. And then I also like to say, okay, well, out of who's been here the longest, days a member, Darby has, and Darby's also the biggest. The next up is Luis. Well, Luis is the next largest. And then you say Roxanne, and then she's the next biggest. So in a way, the amount of time that they've been with Young Living corresponds to their OGV values. That always won't be the case. It might point out somebody that is really growing proportionately larger, even though they've been working on their own team for a less amount of time. This is a good way to kind of keep tabs on just your top 6 legs and view different stats about them, and just really help you focus and understand what's going on at your leg level. This report, the Team ERPV report, when I'm looking at this, I look at the dashed line as saying this is how much ER orders are coming in on average during the month. So it's about, for Oily Sally, it's a little over 4,000 ERPV per day. And then what you can say, if you do have some peaks, you can start saying when is a good time to check if orders didn't go through for any type of reason, that you might want to wait after some of those peaks to do more of the checking, not just do all the checking at the end of the month. You might say, okay, I'm going to schedule something. I've got 2 kind of peaks here. So on the 7th or 8th, I'm going to check to make sure if there are any ERPV orders that are missed. And then after the 21st of the month, maybe it's good to follow up on the 25th. And then again, of course, at the month-end hustle at the end of the month, that you're going to make sure that all those orders go in. These 2 tables right here, one good thing is to just kind of just overall and see, like, we've looked at the total ER and the total PV, but now you can just easily see it by number and see what level it's coming in and what rank total it's coming in. And then you can even get specific and say, hey, we talked about level 7 being a little bit not as healthy maybe as it should have been. What's really happening at level 7 for ER and PV? And this is where you can drill down, because each one of you will have a different level or a different rank that's maybe not as healthy as you would like. And you can drill down then here and say, okay, my level 7s, most of them are distributors. Most of my ER is coming from those distributors. So if you had to focus on somebody to improve level 7, you might want to say my level 7 distributors are the most important to focus on, followed by my level 7 stars. That's going to get you the bulk of maybe some of the benefits of what's happening on level 7. You could look at the same thing from level PV, but use these tables right here to help you refine your goals that you've set when you've been looking at your health indicators. And then this report is just it's a simple way to see, keep eyes on what is really happening on your team with the number of members that have ER, the number of members that have PV only, they don't have any ER, and then finally the members that don't have anything. These are just, they got added and they joined your team, but they didn't have any activity during this month. And you're going to want to push and help guide pinks to blue or green. You're going to want to help guide blues to the green, and then you're going to want to make sure greens are staying happy. So from month to month, this is an easy way, just to keep an eye on this breakout, and to see where, when you're adding new team members, to see how many of them are actually sticking, meaning they're still ordering something with PV, or they've got an ER order out. And it helps not just have the focus on number of new team members, but also on the number of members that are actually sticking and ordering products to the benefit of your entire team. To go through the hustle report, eager Oilers are just members that are new, meaning they have a more recent sign-up date and they have a higher PV level for that current month. And they're generally the most excited members of your team that are hungry for essential oils, meaning their appetite for learning, testing out new things is very high, and being able to encourage them to continue introducing them to more oils, and also just helping make them expert on the oils that they have purchased, so they can gain confidence in their use. And this is also kind of like a highlight list of who are my future leaders, who is the most engaged for future growth. Tentative Oilers are newer members that have a lower PV. So they have a more recent sign-up date, and a lower PV. These are members that are really just testing the waters. You're going to need to encourage them in the use of the few oils that they did purchase, and encourage their beginnings, and also challenge them to test out additional oils for additional purposes. They didn't order nothing. They ordered something. They want to see the benefits, and they are... so here, when a 60-minute session runs out, you just click yes, and it will take additional one of your report viewing sessions. So when that happens, it will reload and all your data will come back up. But tentative oilers, you're going to really want to make sure that you're not just trusting them to continue of their introductions to essential oils on their own. Most people need encouragement. Looking at the next hustle report, skeptical oilers are newer members that have 0 PV. So more or less, they have not found that the oils are worthy of their wallet this month, and you're going to need to challenge them to put the oils to the test in an additional way, and encourage them to maybe try something different. These are definitely people that have been introduced. They've joined as a member, but they have not yet made the purchase this month or this very recently. So they do need your attention. Second chance oilers are older members that have no last order date. They're former skeptics, but they stayed that way. So they would have newly joined and they didn't buy anything that current month. And maybe many months passed, and now they have a sign-up date that was a very long time ago, and they have no order. So you've got to open up and see if they will still try the oils for even just the first time, because last order, they've got no last order. They need to test it out at least once. The next hustle report is increasers for ERPV. And these use ERPV. They have also a higher PV to ERPV ratio, which PV divided by ERPV is the opportunity ratio. It's the same number we're looking at down here. Also on the team report, it is the same number in this far bottom right-hand corner. But these are the members that, we'll look at an example of what happened with Claudette here. Claudette had an ER order of 55, but her PV was 372. Well, following up with her to see if any of those products that she ordered she really likes or enjoys, and might want to have those be sent on a recurring basis. But just the more you're spending is, and if you have a low ER, the more likelihood. Here you can see Samuel King in this example spent nearly 1,400 of PV, and he had 311 on ER. So maybe it's worth following up. Hey, I saw you had a large order this month. Are any of those things that you want to continue ordering, or was this just a one-time gift purchase or whatever? But looking at your starters, then these individuals, these team members, do not use ERPV, and they have a higher last order PV. So they're not on auto ship, and they have a higher last order. So these individuals might be a good place to start by looking at getting them on ER, and their last purchase was very high, and that they likely could have qualified for bonuses with their ER order. So you want to look to start these individuals on ER. Overdue big spenders have an older last order date and a higher last order, so older last order date and a higher last order PV. And these individuals, these members, were excited about the oils, and they might have lost some passion through time. They might need to just restock. It was this individual, looks like they ordered about a year ago, and they ordered 340 PV worth. Do they need to restock any of those items? Do they still, or have they ran out and they just haven't made an additional order? So they're overdue for making a large purchase again. Hesitating Oilers have a older last order date and a lower last order PV. And these members were formerly tentative Oilers, and they were not convinced about the oils. So you just want to, reshare the benefits of the oils and keep exploring different ways to pique their interest in experimenting with the oils. The next two are Achiever and Strugglers, and these are individuals that have ranked up recently and have a higher OGV, or they are off of their peak rank and have a higher OGV. Achievers are, they've got momentum. Strugglers have lost some momentum. Some of this lost momentum is natural, but also if lost momentum is staying that way over time, you've got to really jumpstart the team and try some new things to boost growth. Achievers, with that momentum, being able to put goals that are a little bit challenging and might be a stretch, are definitely worth putting in front of these individuals. And remember to encourage both and edify both levels. But it's an easy way, not only at the top ranks, but as you rank up, to be able to keep an eye on who is the new distributor, who are the new stars, and to be able to track and know who is rising and keep an eye on those improvements. PV Assistant Ready, these members use auto ship, and they do not use PV Assistant, and they have higher OGV, and the more higher OGV they have, the more likely they would benefit from the use of PV Assistant. So use those to improve their auto ship experience and start them on PV Assistant. Promo Missers is a great one. It is members with ER PV nearest to but not greater than the 190, 250, and 300 levels. So if you look at this far right column, it tells you how much they missed their promo by, and following up with these individuals so they don't miss that in the future in the bonuses. Looking at the social reports, these are just nice to share and take screenshots of and post in your Facebook group and share with your team members, and really encourage everyone for the success of your team. And really, that's just an example of how you might interpret the graphs and use your Oily reports. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope you grow like a pro with Oily.